Welcome, everyone, to the One More Game podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, a.k.a. Darcy, and with me is a special guest, Melissa White. Melissa, how are you doing today?
I am pretty good. How are you?
I am doing just fine. It's not a great day weather-wise outside, but it's a great day for myself. We've had a lot of awesome things going on here at Press Starts and, of course, for my personal group. And I have actually been looking forward to all week this interview to talk with you about it because for a lot of people who don't know, that might not know yourself, you are a voice actor and were gracious enough to come here onto the podcast to step in and help with my move. And I've been talking about it, of course, on the podcast. And so when you're hearing this episode, I am closing on my house, so I am nowhere near my current place that I'm recording right now. And so that's when this episode is airing. So Melissa, before we kind of get into some things, because of course some people are going to be like, where is the California thirst quencher Pete Legia? Well, Pete was not able to be here, but you're here in his place. So for those that don't know about you, tell us a little bit about yourself and before we get into the show.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. But as you said, I am a voice actor. I've been voice acting for about a year and 8 months, but who's counting? But I've been an actor my whole life. I used to do on-stage productions at my high school, middle school. I took some classes in college, so I'm no stranger to getting in my feelings, as actors do. So, I've loved it my whole life. I really wanted to be an actor ever since I was a little kid. But I had parents who were looking out for me, and they were like, no, that's not a sustainable career path. You can't do that. So I listened to them and I ended up becoming a counselor in psychology. So I did that for a while. And then I didn't really like that because I had a really hard time separating myself from my clients. So I really felt everything that they felt, and it was really hard on me. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm just not the right person for this job. And then I worked for an animal rights organization for 5 years. And during that time, I found my love for voice acting because I moved to Las Vegas, and there's a voice acting studio here. And I was just like doing some searches online for acting stuff because I missed it. I was like, man, like I really have this itch I need to scratch. And I came across that. I was like, wait, voice acting? Because I'd never really thought about that form of acting before. And I was like, wait a second, I want to try that because I'd been thinking this whole time, I want to do something with my voice because I'd always gotten comments on my voice. Granted, it's not about the voice, it's more about the acting, but it's still like, it was in the back of my mind, right? So I was like, okay, I got to do something because I was a singer too. I'm like I'm telling you my whole life story right now. Ooh,
you're completely fine. Go for it.
But yeah, I was a singer too. And so I missed singing. And I was like, man, like I want to do something with that too. So with voice acting, it is kind of the best of both worlds because there are definitely auditions and things where it's like, sing this, or it doesn't say sing this, and I'll sing it anyway because I just want any excuse. I'm like, this fits. I'm going to sing it. So yeah, it's that's kind of where I got to where I'm at. Took some classes at the studio here in town and absolutely fell in love. And I've been training hard ever since and doing a ton of auditions, as many as possible. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today. I hope that answered the question the way it was supposed to.
It did. And of course, now you're here, of course, on the podcast, which we are grateful for to have you. And we will talk more about your background and all the things that, of course, have led you to voice acting. But we got to get into the opening of the show. So for everyone that is here for the podcast, welcome to the One More Game podcast. This is a podcast that is centered around making sure you're informed about all the video game news happening around the world, whether it is PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, or PC. If there's news that you need to know about, we'll make sure that you know about it. When you're listening to this on your podcast service, make sure you hit the subscribe button or the follow button, depending on what your service offers. And if your podcast service allows reviews, please leave a 5-star review and tell everyone why you love the One More Game podcast, because we really enjoy bringing this to you each and every Friday. If you'd like to be part of the show by asking a question or suggesting a topic for discussion, head on over to pressstartnews.net/onemore-game and fill out the submission form, and your submission could be used on the next episode. Or when we're normally live streaming this, you could drop it in the chat box over at youtube.com/presssstart28. But as I alluded to earlier, we're recording this early, so of course this is not being recorded or live streamed at the time. So go to that website and fill out the submission form. But if this is your first time to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your listen and I hope you enjoy your stay. But if you are returning, you already know what it is. We start off every single podcast talking about what we've been playing lately. So, Melissa, what have you been playing lately?
All right, so I'm really into this game. Some of you might know it, called Judgment.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
I actually, to be honest, I own it. It's I have the copy out in the living room. I have not played the full version. I've played the demo, and I've of course loved the demo. But I bought this during GameStop's buy two get one free deal. But as I always allude to here on the podcast, my backlog is so large at the moment. It's just sitting on my shelf. But at some point, I am going to get to it. So I want to hear your thoughts about what you think of the game.
I felt that feeling, first of all, just like having this endless backlog of games, same. But I am obsessed, okay? So I was not expecting to like it as much as I do, because I went in knowing that the voice acting is fantastic, because I've actually been coached. What did I just say? Coached. I've actually been coached by the guy who plays the lead character.
Oh,
And
wow.
I picked it up because I loved him so much. Like being coached by him, I was like, wait, he's so good. I want to like play and watch the media he's been in. So I picked it up because of that. Shout out to Greg Chun. But oh my gosh, like his performance is so inspiring in the game. It like makes me want to be a better actor. And it's just like, as far as the game itself, like voice acting aside, that tends to be what I fangirl over because I mean, hello. But it's just like, it's so fun. I'm a sucker for like great storylines because that's what I play games for. Like I play a lot of visual novels too, because I just love being immersed in a story. And so this is a really great game for that. It's so interesting. It's one of those stories that just like has you on the edge of your seat and you can't put it down. And on top of that, you get to beat a lot of people up because it's like, there's a lot of gangs around. It's like, hell yeah. Like, obviously I can't do this in real life. And obviously I would get my ass kicked if that were the case. But it's so cool to just like learn all these fighting moves and stuff and like have this awesome story. And I love that it's like very much you can just run around with no time limit and go to all these restaurants and like explore the world without being like, oh, I don't know, like Persona, you need to go to bed. Any Persona fans out there, shout out.
Persona fan right here. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Same. But yeah, this one is just like there's no like time doesn't pass when you do something. Like there's a bunch of cool things you can do and it's not like, okay, you've reached your limit for the day. You can just endlessly do that and then continue the story when you feel like it. And so I love that about it because it's like play at your own pace, do whatever the heck you want. And man, I can't recommend it enough. And this is my first game I think it's in the Yakuza series.
Yeah, from the Yakuza creators. Yep.
Yeah, so it's my first one, and I'm like super excited to play all the other ones too. Because I know a few people who are in Lost Judgment, which is the sequel, and I'm like, okay, I got to play this first and get through this and do this, and then so I can play that. So that's like my life, just being like, oh, something new came out, I got to catch up on whatever I missed. So yeah, that one, it's a really, really good game. And then this is like a totally opposite game, but I've been playing Fall Guys a lot.
Okay, all right.
It's so fun. It's just so stupid. Like, I just love being able to run around as this little blob and be like, okay, we're going to get wrecked over and over again and just like fall off of everything. Obviously, the name is Fall Guys, but it's like, I don't know. I like mindless stuff too. Like, when I'm not playing my stories, I need something where it's like, if I had a long day and I'm like, all right, I can't like focus on anything. So we're just going to be stupid in this game. And I love stuff like that too, where it's just like, I don't know, we can compete and I can lose badly and it'll be good.
Yeah, and Fall Guys is like the perfect game for that. So, obviously, with the game being out now and stuff, I can talk about it. I was one of the very early testers of that game and was testing it out for a long period of time. Was, of course, told to capture my gameplay and my thoughts and send it over to Mediatonic over it. So, I knew for a long time that game was going to be a lot of fun. I had so much fun, and I kept envisioning in my head, when I have a chance to play this with my friends, this is going to be even better. And so, when it first released, I was hooked on that game. I played it for a long time. I haven't jumped back on it yet since it went free to play, but I totally get what you're saying. And I want to just ask real quick, because you said that you play a lot of visual novels. And
Yes.
one of the games that Judgment, of course, really pulled me in, as you mentioned, was the Yakuza series, but was the Ace Attorney series. And so I wanted to ask you, just in your thoughts, I guess, what one, visual novel is like you a big fan of, but two, how do you like the detective aspect that Judgment brings that's kind of, in the same vein, so to speak, of like the Ace Attorney series?
Um, it's really funny you bring that up because I have friends who have been trying to get me to play Ace Attorney forever, and I started it and I just couldn't get into it. I've tried to
Oh
play it so many
no.
times. I know. So like I'm gonna get so much hate. Like please don't send me death threats. But it's like I don't know. There's something about it. Like I think it's because of my mindset surrounding it, because I was using it more as a way to practice voice acting because there's no voice acting in it.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna voice all the characters. So I think I played myself and I turned it into being like work instead of play. So I think because I have too much going on every day, so I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to do more work." So I don't know. It's just it's no hate to the game at all. It's me, guys. Like just it's me as a person. But yeah, anyways, back to your question. I just had to comment on that. Um, but I really love detective stuff. Like that's totally my thing. That's the type of anime I'm into too. It's just
Okay.
like I love a good mystery. I love like a lot of times they have like psychological thriller aspects to them too. So I love being on the edge of my seat, not knowing what's going to happen, just being totally in the dark. I think that's so cool. Like that's what excites me. So I love being a detective. That's like my favorite thing. But as far as like my favorite visual novel, that's a really tough question, man. Um,
I have an
so
easy answer for myself, but that's why I was curious to see if you're along the same vein as me.
I really I want to pick. Okay, so I'm not gonna pick When They Cry because that's my favorite anime. So I'm not gonna give them the visual novel too because
Okay.
that's what it's originally from. But I'm gonna pick World End Syndrome. Uh,
Oh, I
have you
actually
played
own
it
that one.
again?
So again, have it. I've only played the demo, but I own that because in a past job that I did event production business and traveled across the country putting on video game tournaments. And Access Games gave me a free copy of that, and so like I have it, I have it downloaded. I just have not been able to get to it yet because of the backlog.
Man, you know everybody. I'm just like, oh yeah, I was a tester for that. Oh, like they gave me a free copy. No big deal. But no, this game, like again, I never expect to like anything as much as I do. I always go in with really low expectations because I feel like it's less disappointing that way if
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
for
like
sure.
something. But I I was like, "Whoa," like, the character designs are so cool. Again, it's a great mystery. It just, like, keeps you guessing the whole time, and it's just gorgeous. Like, I love the backdrops. The story is so interesting. All the characters are so wholesome, and also there's, like, some that are really intriguing and mysterious, so it's like, I don't know, it's just got the best of everything, and I recommend it to everybody because I think even if you don't like visual novels, there's still some elements where it's like you get to pick and choose what you're doing. Um, and it's just like if you especially if you like anime, I feel like you would like it because 'cause they're all very anime looking characters. So
For sure, for sure. And I will say, to echo what you're saying, I do highly recommend people go check out the demo if it's still available. I think it is. But if you have a chance, go try the demo out, see if you really like it. And I think the game regularly is on sale now for like $20 or cheaper than that. So if you're looking for, hey, I have some money to throw and I want to buy a new game and try out a visual novel, that's one to try out. Before I get into games that I play, I want to say my favorite visual novel, and people that know me very well know that this is the easy case, is Danganronpa. I absolutely love Danganronpa. And I anytime someone goes, well, like, I want to get into visual novels, what should I play? I'm like, Danganronpa. Play Danganronpa.
I agree.
So totally love it. Monokuma. Awesome character. I want to get a plushie of him at some point. I don't have him, but I want to get him on my shelf over here. What I've been playing lately, I switch games all the time. So I'm back actually to playing The Last Remnant. Again, for those that haven't been around here, I'm playing the PC version, which is delisted. It no longer is available, but you can go play The Last Remnant Remastered, which is on PlayStation and Switch. Having a ton of fun with the game. Again, it's, as I've mentioned before, the parts that the combat that might throw people off is you don't technically select the moves that your characters use in the combat. The way I think of it, or the way I kind of describe it, is like you're the commander of the army and you just kind of shout to these unions or these groups, hey, do this, and then they choose from their set of moves what they want to do. So like if you tell them, hey, use combat arts, they're going to use melee focused moves. If you say use mystic arts, they're going to use magic type moves. If you tell them to attack, they'll just go straight attack. Heal, obviously. So that's the one thing that does throw people off. Obviously, I've had some issues. Haven't had it recently, but where I'm like, hey, heal yourselves. And then they're like, I don't know what to do, and then they don't heal themselves and they die, and I'm like, no, that's not what I said. but of course, that's just sometimes, you know, the give and take that you have with battles. And then the last thing that I've kind of been diving into is I've been playing a little bit more of WWE 2K22 because, of course, the day that we're recording this is our new episode of PSWF is going to be airing over on our YouTube account, so make sure that you are over there following it. So that's a lot of fun. And then the last game, played it very briefly, but I just want to mention it, and I'm going to pull up while I talk about it, is Undernaut's Labyrinth to Yomi, and I don't know if it can... Labyrinth of Yomi, excuse me, I should say. It is a dungeon crawler from Axis Games, the publisher, I should say, of it. The developers are experienced. They make a lot of dungeon crawlers, Sword of Sapphire City and Wings of Sapphire City and I can't remember what the other one is. It's something of Sword City. That's what I'm trying to think. But they make a lot of those, and this one I'm really excited for because it's kind of a darker in tone aspect, and I love how customizable it can be. Sometimes dungeon crawlers are great for that aspect. So, for instance, I made my character, and I named him Darcy, of course. But it let me change the whole background, like detail text. So like I remember like with the default was like, oh, you're a miner for some company and stuff, and I changed it to a games journalist with a fascination for magic, caught up in a world of ruin looking for fortunes. And I was like, it made me instantly go, all right, I'm already sold. I love that I could just customize the entire backstory of my character. So totally recommend checking that out as well. But we've been talking a lot about what we've been playing lately for quite a bit. Let's get to talking about you, Melissa, because, of course, that's what we are here to talk about. With this being a week we're recording early, can't talk about news of the week if I don't know what the future brings. So we're going to talk about you, Melissa, and let's start off with a segment that some of those that are used to the episode have heard in the past. It's been dormant for a little bit. We're bringing it back, and it's called Boss Rush Time. So, Melissa, what Boss Rush Time is I'm going to give you rapid fire questions, and you got to try to answer them back quickly, okay? The idea is just try not to think about it too much, all right? Very quick,
Improv,
very easy.
let's go.
You got this, exactly. See? Voice actor, you're ready to go. All right, are you ready for this? And
I guess.
You already answered the first one, basically, but favorite anime?
When They Cry.
Least favorite anime?
You know, the girl who chants love something something. Very long name.
Game that you've put the most time into.
Persona 5.
Easy one, that one. Favorite voice actor.
Erica Harlacher.
All right. Voice actor you would love to meet or work with.
I can't answer the same one, I'm guessing.
You can if you want.
Yeah, Erica Harlacher.
All right. And then the last question we have is, what role would you have loved to play? So this could be a past, a present role that you're hearing about, or a future role if a game was being made on something.
Literally any playable character in the Persona series.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, you passed boss rush time. That was just the easy one. Again, I used it more for a warm-up to get people to getting to know you a little bit. So that's an easy one. Normally it's a lot harder, I will tell you that. It's still easy, but Pete, normally it's stories of the week and I just give you like the headline and you got to just answer it. But obviously weeks in advance, I'm not going to just throw that at you. So let's talk a little bit about you, Melissa. Obviously, we've had some fun here early on, and I think for some people, they want to, of course, get an idea with things. So you talked a little bit about, of course, you've had this upbringing of being on stage all the way back to high school, I think you said, and obviously wanting to continue doing it. So was it simply Googling on when you moved to Las Vegas about studios that made you get the idea of voice casting, or was there something that kind of triggered into your mind at some point saying, you know what, voice acting might be something I'd be interested in?
You know, I have a little bit of a funny story about that. So, one of my close friends, who was not my close friend at the time, I was on a Discord call in an anime server because I'm a weeb. Surprise. And we were just chatting, like having a normal conversation. He was like, "Hey, you sound like this voice actor." So he told me I sounded like a voice actor. It was I can't remember her name, but she played Mayuri in Steins Gate in the dub.
Okay.
Fantastic anime. But I was like, huh. So that's something that kind of stuck with me in the back of my mind, because I was just like, wait, I sound like a voice actor, which I don't know what that means, but that's hella cool. So I'm gonna have that. So I had that in about 2018. I didn't move to Vegas until late 2019. But yeah, it was like I had that like primer, right? So I had that in my head. And then I was looking up acting stuff. It was the Google search is really what like sealed the deal for me. Thank you, Google. But it was just like
Not sponsored by Google or anything.
No, it wasn't. But please pay me to be in a commercial or something. Thank you. So it kind of just went from there. It was just like I was looking up acting classes and I thought, you know, I missed it. I was like, what can I do to get active here? Because I need some type of hobby too, where it's like I'm not just working my full-time job, which I loved. I loved the job that I was doing at the time, but it was just like, I need something more, like something to just fulfill me with my creative outlet, right? So I Googled it, I found the studio, and I was like, I'm going to take an intro course. And it was really, really fun. And I felt like so comfortable behind the microphone. Like, let me not say comfortable, but I felt like at home in a way. Like I was super nervous, but I felt like it clicked. Like I belonged there. Like this is the thing I'd been looking for, where I was just like, what can I do with my voice? That people always comment on. Like, is there something I can do with it? And then it almost like fell into my lap in a way. And I was like, this is super cool. It's like the fates and the stars aligned. And I don't know, that's kind of it's kind of a boring start, but I mean,
hey, it's a nice start in my opinion, because I totally understand it from a perspective of myself, person that I worked in television news for many years. And when I moved to move up here to where I live right now, and obviously going to move again, I did something similar, not obviously into voice acting, but I did something like I need to find something outside of work to get out into the community and do something, because I was moving to a place I didn't have any friends. So it was like, well, I need to do some things, right, to make some friends. Obviously, you can make friends at work, but I get, you know, that aspect of being like, well, I'm in a new city. What is there that I can do to find something new, find something different. And as for you, obviously voice acting being the case. And I also understand when you said like I felt at home, because I've been doing communication stuff since 2013, even longer if you count me in college. And no matter what, even like before I interview, I sat in this chair and I was nervous. I'm always nervous, but the nerves is part of what drives you. It makes you feel good. It makes the conversation flow because you overcome that. So I want to ask, with that being said, you talked about obviously for the last year and 8 months, who's counting, of course, that you've been working at for voice acting. How has the training and practicing and just basically the hurdles or things that you've done to get to this point been like for you?
It's been really hard. Because I mean, in any creative industry, there's a lot of competition. Of course, because there's so many talented people out there. But it's just the training process has been really fun for me. On top of like it being difficult, like the industry itself, it's been a journey because I've gotten to work with so many people who I admire myself, and um, it's it's so cool just being able to learn something new or multiple new things every time I take a class. And I've taken many, many classes, so you can imagine all the learning that's going on. But it's just the learning process is so fun, and I feel like people are so focused on their end goal. And I'm guilty of this too. I'm like, man, like when am I going to get something really big, right? But it's like the journey itself is so cool, and to just be able to learn from so many different people and just get better and better every time you take a class is just amazing. And it's easy to forget that that's like, oh, it's not a big deal, I'm just doing this so I can get my big role down the line. But um no, I love training. I genuinely do. The only thing is it gets expensive like everything else at voice acting, because the equipment's expensive. I mean, you know this, is everything's expensive. Setting up your space is expensive. And it's like it can be super discouraging to be someone who doesn't have a lot of money. Because I worked at nonprofits for my entire career because I just want to help people, okay? But it didn't help me that much. So financially anyways. So it's just like been a little slower than I would like because I have to save up for stuff, because now I have a day job of working at a cafe. So that's like my main income. I get some from voiceover, but it's not enough to sustain me right now. So I have to have that little something something on the side. Well, main, I guess. That doesn't make sense.
It's still a little something something, but yes.
a little something something. But I'm gonna pretend that I get more roles than I do. But it's been a really cool journey so far, and I think the hardest thing for me, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with this, is just the comparing yourself to other people. Because I'm very active on social media, and so therefore I see everybody's role announcements and all the cool stuff they've been doing, which I'm like cheerleader over here, like hardcore. But there's that little voice in the back of my head that's like, you don't have anything to announce. You suck. You should just quit. Like just ridiculous stuff like that. But it's so hard to see other people being so successful, and you just kind of like trudging along, like waiting for your moment. But it's just, I've been telling myself, my moment's coming. Everybody's journey's different. You shouldn't be comparing yourself, because it's like you're not them.
Yeah.
And they're not you. So you have some stuff to offer that they don't too. So it's like thinking about the positive aspects of that. It's just, I don't know. I went on this tangent here, and I don't know what my point was. But
you did a great job, and I totally get the whole comparing yourself. I think we're all guilty of it. I know I'm guilty of it, and my wife always at times has to be like, stop it. Just stop it. Like you've done a lot, you have a lot under your belt, but of course it's like I'm like, yeah, but where's that big moment that I can just point to and be like, there it is, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you talked about, of course, a lot of learning. Obviously, I know sometimes it can be learning overload. And you talked, of course, about the expense of it. The studio behind you, for those that are watching, can see the sound softeners behind you. But I guess for you, what do you feel has been one of the most important parts that you've learned from starting this journey into voice acting?
One of the most important things, I guess, that I can use my normal voice. I know a lot of people go into it and they're like, okay, it's all about like what silly fun voices can I do? Which, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely roles out there for that. And I've done some of those roles. But for the most part, most of the things I've booked are in my voice or like very close to my voice. And I mean, my natural speaking voice. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, it I've been told too in my training that your biggest moneymaker is your natural speaking voice. And I think that's something that is so important to remember because I think a lot of us don't really like our natural speaking voices. So it's like we're always trying to change it. But at the end of the day, that's the most authentic because it's you. Like it's
Mm.
just you and you don't have to like put something on. So especially for things that aren't character related, so like commercials, narration, audiobook. I mean, audiobooks have some characters too, but it's like
Yeah.
there's there's a you can talk like yourself and get paid for it. I think that's one of the most important things I've learned because it's like sometimes like I'll listen to a recording, I'm like, why do I sound like that? But I think it's a common struggle, and I just if any voice actors or like people who want to be voice actors are listening to this, just know like your voice is enough, and you can use it, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah, as a person who worked in news and had to use their normal voice all the time for voiceovers and stuff, yes, you can do it. There's like slight little tweaks that you have to do, but it's
Yeah.
not like doing a voice like this. Like I gotta change my voice completely. You can. It's
Yeah.
just slight tweaks for it. I want to ask a little bit about your website. So, of course, you have a website, melissa-white.com. And one of the things I noticed right away is your demo reel. And so in your demo reel, you play like 6 different characters in that demo reel. So how did you come up with that? Did you write that script? Was that something that you did in recording lessons? How did it come up? Because I personally thoroughly enjoyed going through and I was like, oh, this is this is her. It has to be, and everything that's going on.
So I want to give a massive shout out to my coach and good friend Brett Mukai. He actually wrote the script for me. First, we met up and we had like a consultation basically, and we talked about what kind of characters do you want to include in here. So he was taking notes about the types of voices I wanted. And I was giving him like a little demo of what the voice is. I was like, "Oh, it's gonna sound like this," and then he was like, "Oh, okay, cool. So it's this type of character."
Hmm.
So he wrote the entire script. He is amazing. Like he's written a lot of them, and so it's just like it's so cool the idea to just have it be one cohesive story too. To just be like, okay, you're going to be voicing all the characters in this one story. And I love that because it's like people are invested when they're listening. They're like, oh, like what's going to happen next? But yeah, so Brent Mukai, amazing. And then it was produced by the Voice Actors Studio here in Vegas, the studio I started with. And they did a really great job. And I really love how it turned out. So it was just, I mean, I just did the acting. That's all I can get the credit for. But yeah, it was a really, really fun time recording that. And I'm so grateful for the hard work that was put in on it.
Now, don't downplay yourself because obviously the voice acting is the focus of that part. So, yes,
Um,
but of course, as always, great to shout out the other people that helped you along the way. So, of course, I think they're going to be saying thank you when they're listening to this back. But let me just ask you for my own interest, and I think a lot of other people is, what was your first role? Like, what after you did the studio, after you did the training and stuff, what was the first role to you? And if you can remember, what was that like? I guess excitement level, because we always remember our first time doing whatever it might be.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go with my first paid role because that was like a big deal to me.
Yeah, that's completely
Um,
fine.
so I didn't start auditioning for things like regularly until this past September. Because I was just like train, 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 train. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. I feel like auditioning is some of the best practice you can get. But anyway, that note aside, I got a main character in an audio drama. And it was a horror audio drama. And I was like, yes, this is so my thing.
Right as you said
Um,
earlier, the mystery, the drama.
yeah, and it hasn't been released yet, but I can talk about it because I've been credited. I just can't like I probably shouldn't give specifics about like the details of the story,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like it's based around a haunted house and it's super cool. And I was just so excited because I hadn't been auditioning for long and lo and behold I get this really cool role of this character in a horror series and now like the people who created it I am like pretty close with them and I love them and I'm just like yeah work with them they're amazing like always hyping them up too. And it was just a really cool experience. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing because it's like the hard part well, there's a lot of hard parts, but a really hard part for me is being my own engineer. Because
Oh,
you
I
have
can
to when you're
imagine.
recording. Yeah, when you're recording remotely, it's like, "Oh, crap, I have to do all these, like, blood-curdling screams, and how do I make that sound good?"
Hmm.
Granted, I didn't really have to, like, do much of the editing, but I was like, "How do I not, like, sound like I'm 10,000 years away from my microphone?" 'Cause, like, you have to step really far back a lot of the time, but it's like, "All right, gotta get the gain to" but now I've learned more since then about, like, how to make it sound better, compression, baby. But it's just like,
You want to teach
um,
me? You want to teach me? I'm still
hey,
trying to learn.
hey, I learned everything I know from YouTube. It's like, I think I literally typed into YouTube how to make your audition sound better because I was
Nice.
like, they didn't sound bad, but I wanted to give myself that edge, you know, of not just being like, here's my raw audio, which
Hmm.
sometimes like that's what they ask for because they want to hear exactly what your space sounds like. So I'm like, when that happens, I'm happy because it's less work for me, but I'm still like, all right, I want to make them sound like they stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, just I YouTubed everything, but I still do. I'm still like, how do I do this? What would I even do without the internet? Like on all these tutorials, I would be so bad and nobody would hire me ever.
I'm gonna tell you right now that even myself, who went to college doing these communications things, if I didn't have YouTube for some of the stuff that I'm looking for, I'd probably be in the same boat, going, I don't even know how to do this. Like, I can't do this. I can't make it out there. So, of course, again, not sponsored by YouTube or Google, who owns YouTube. So, but like Melissa said, if you want to pay us, we'll definitely put some more plugs in here. So obviously you got that role, you got the pay. Like, I just have to ask, because I remember my first time on TV. The first time that I presented on TV, I mean, I was on TV in college, like as an intern, but I guess I should say like my first time post graduation on TV. I will never forget that experience, and I'll detail it here in a bit. But like, what was it like to you getting that email saying, "Hey, we want to work with you"?
It was crazy. I was actually at a waitressing job at the time when I got the email and I just like I was like, "Oh my god." Like I screamed. My coworkers were like, "What the heck is going on?" And I told them cuz they all knew that I was a voice actor and still am present tense. But it was just like it was crazy. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like somebody actually wants to work with me." Like I didn't granted I hadn't been auditioning for that long, but I still like had this imposter syndrome, which I still deal with all the time. Yay. But it's just it was just surreal being like somebody wants to listen to my voice and have to edit it and listen to it for a very long time because I'm the main character. And it was so weird because I was like, I don't even like listening to my voice. So thank you for actually wanting to do that and have me as this character. And yeah, it was just an absolutely I felt so grateful in that moment.
That's awesome. Yeah, so real quick detailing my first time on TV. I tell this story because it's still just so funny to me. I actually have it saved on a DVD that it's here at the house. But I did a story about. So I lived in a town called Quincy, Illinois. It's where I went to college, Quincy University. There's a town nearby called Hannibal, Missouri. And for those that may go, what is Hannibal, Missouri? Hannibal, Missouri is where Mark Twain lived and wrote Huckleberry Finn. So like. Hannibal promotes Mark Twain a lot. Well, they had just like remodeled their downtown area and put like a number of trees that were donated to them. And so I was doing a story about the trees being planted. And I'm on the set, and there's a big plasma TV behind me. They're supposed to be playing this video, and I'm so excited. I'm on TV. It's my first time on TV since I graduated. I'm ready to go, and I start to talk, and I start like yelling into the microphone. So I'm over modulating like on the end, and the audio people behind there are like trying to pull me down, and then I turn to like a professional, right? I turn to reference the screen, and the wrong video is playing behind me, but I don't even notice. So I'm like, these trees behind me, and there's like, it's a big building, like a metal shed. And I'm like, these trees right here are going to be downtown in, Hannibal. And yeah, I didn't realize the wrong video was playing at all until after I got off and looked at the video later. And I was like, God, like I just made, like for me, felt like I made a fool of myself. But of course, everyone else just like had a good laugh with it and was like, Jeremy, like it was just so happy that you're so happy. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm just happy to be here, guys. That's basically what it is. So like I said, we all know that first moment. So I'm glad that, of course, you remember it. And of course, in a sense, got to share it with some coworkers. Or some people to go through with that. Now, of course, I look over here at your resume. Obviously, I did a big look at you, but you've done, of course, some video games, some animation stuff, and of course, you've been on some podcasts like you are here. So I guess for you, what is it like doing the different experiences? Some people I think get so focused on voice acting being one thing, whether it is anime, as you talked about it, or cartoons, or video games, but you obviously show the breadth that voice acting can bring to you. So how do you change the experience based off of what you're using?
You mean as far as like the different mediums, like how is it different recording for them?
Yeah, exactly. For the people at home that may be interested or of course, anime and video games, but they don't know the process. So what's it like from your perspective, doing the different aspects in the mediums?
Well, let me just preface this by saying I've only really worked on indie productions.
That's
So
completely fine.
it's probably a little different at the really big studios, but as far as it's more about how you act. I mean, there's different processes, but most of the time it's like you get on a call and you do a live directed session and you go through the lines together. And you get directed by the director or creator of the project, whoever's doing it. And then you're just recording on your end, and you send it over raw, usually completely raw with all your coughs and breaths and whatever else you did in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I did in a lot of them. But it's just it's more about, for me, for now, it's been more the way that I act. So for animation, you're going to be really animated because that's what it is, right? But for video games, most of them are more grounded. So you're just going to be just chill in a way. Obviously not chill for every line, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's more real and authentic. So it's just you got to adjust that a little bit because they're very different. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, character work is all the same. And it's you can't really do a video game and your animation reads because it's just it's not gonna fit.
Yeah.
And then for commercials, I have very limited experience with commercials. I did some PetSmart commercials and that's about it. I've
Nice.
done some narrations too, but yeah, it's been it's still the live directed session, right? But it's just you're matching to a time. So if it's like a 30-second commercial, you have to a lot of the direction is like, okay, go faster, go slower. Like you're matching a picture that they already have. So it's like, okay, like at this point you need to say this line. So um in a way it's kind of like dubbing because it's like you're matching the mouth flaps. I haven't gotten to do that yet, unfortunately. Someday. But it's like I've practiced a lot on my own and taking classes, and it's like it's hard.
Oh, I can
it's
imagine.
it's just like I mean, you have to match the original actors' little nuances that they put in. Like if they take a breath, you have to take a breath. And it's like you you're you can't put in as much like flair in your own performance because it's like you're limited by whenever this character's lip flaps stop. And so it's like you can't add as much like oomph as you might in like prelay animation or video games. So they're just like little there's so many different genres you can get into, and they all have different like formats. Like of course for commercials you're not going to do like a video game type read. It's more like I'm trying to sell this product, but I also want to sound like your friend. So it just it's just that's a lot of the time what it is. So it's just I don't know. There's definitely overlap in like how you do the different ones, but it's still like there are different nuances you have to implement.
Yeah, when I did commercials, I think exactly what you said. The time read is always difficult because sometimes it's like, I'm like a hair over, the 30-second slot. I'm at like 30.7, and it's like we need you to speak a little bit faster, and then you speak a little bit faster, and it's like now I'm at 28 seconds. Like, all right, a little bit slower again. So I totally get it. Of course, again with my background, I've done some commercial work. I've always wanted to get into voice acting, but I currently live in Wisconsin, and where we have no voice acting studios around here. But two, this space is not voice acting approved. So I want to ask you, for that reason, of course, it's something that I actually had a person on Clubhouse, which for those that don't know, Clubhouse is basically an all voiced social platform. The way I describe it is it's like a 24/7 podcast platform. But I had someone on Clubhouse ask me to do this with you, which is you're going to help me with 1 quick second or whatever, be a voice actor. So what would you do to help me, little old Jeremy here, be a voice actor? What can you teach me to bring to the audience and bring to this podcast?
Like as far as how to get started?
Or just you're the coach, all right? I'm following your lead. All right, we're gonna read something. I'll find something. I'll type a random Google article or something. But you're gonna coach me for a second. You're gonna help me you're the coach. I'm the voice actor.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm gonna just look up something. So what should I know? What should I know? We'll go to an IGN article. How about that? I'll just go to an IGN article or something. All right, games. Let's see here. We're going to look at Aloy confirmed as the main character of PlayStation's Horizon Netflix series. Well, that sounds obvious, but let's make sure. So I'm going to read this article. You're going to help me as a coach, all right? So let me start this first part. Umbrella Academy director Steve Blackman is heading up the Netflix Horizon series based on PlayStation's Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. During an interview with Tudum, he confirmed that he's adapting the popular PlayStation series for Netflix and that Aloy will be the show's main character. Horizon Zero Dawn is an exceptionally well-crafted game with wonderful characters not often seen in the rank and file of the gaming world, he said. Guerrilla Games has created an incredible, lush, and vivid world of man and machine who find themselves on a collision course to oblivion. How did I do?
Well, that's not really fair because you've had some experience, but
I did tell them on Clubhouse that I was in news for a while and did voiceovers, but they were like, "No, have her
Okay.
coach you." I'm like, "All right, sounds good."
Okay, well, I can tell you some tips. So, it's all about like, I mean, I don't know about reading an article, but as far
Yeah,
as like,
I didn't know. I didn't have this prepped, so that's why I just threw something up.
um, like, so pick an audience always. Like, if you're, so for this article, I don't know, we're probably talking to younger people who would be interested in this, right? Like maybe millennials or Gen Z. But think about like how you would talk to that person versus like an older person. So like a 70-year-old, you wouldn't talk to them the same way as you would a 20-year-old, right? So
Hmm.
just making little nuances in that way, and also picking a feeling. Like, what do you want people to feel as you're reading this? Like, do you want them
Depressed.
to feel, yeah, depressed? I know. Sometimes though, literally
I know.
sometimes. But yeah, just like picking a feeling is so helpful to be like, I don't know, just like sometimes when I think about that feeling as I'm reading something, it just turns into a totally different read where
Hmm.
it's like, okay, this sounds like, yeah, like I'm trying to like be give people empathy in a way. And it's, yeah, it's helped me a lot.
Well, there you go, everyone that's listening to this. Jot those notes down and get prepared for your break into voice acting. So, Melissa, I want to ask for one, for people to follow you, but two, just to know about it. What do you utilize when it comes to social media, trying to, of course, get your name out there and help with discoverability?
So I'm definitely most active on Twitter. You can follow me at It's Melissa White because Melissa White's too common of a name, so I can't just be Melissa White. But I'm also on Instagram under that same name. And I've been trying to use TikTok more. I was for a while and then I got really burnt out on it.
Mm.
But I've been trying to use it more just for like a fun thing. And again, to like increase my discoverability. And I'm Melissa X White on there, very MySpace. Um,
Hey,
and
shout outs to MySpace. That's where a lot of us got our start.
oh man, I miss it so much. But then I'm also on LinkedIn because I feel like LinkedIn is a good place because there's a lot of big names on there too, where it's like, okay, well maybe someday they'll see my post and like I can interact with their stuff so they'll know my name. But
Hmm.
yeah, those are my main ones that I'm on.
Yeah, and we will, of course, in the show notes put those so that if people want to follow you and you ride along in your journey through social media, they can do so. And I'm glad you brought up TikTok. So for myself, I really like TikTok, and I do that a lot. We've been growing very, very strongly here recently. My most recent videos have been about my desire to switch games all the time. So we've been doing that, but I ask because one of the things I've seen on there a number of times, I never made a video myself, but it was the whole "so you want to be a voice actor"
Oh yeah.
thing that was going on. So did you ever make one of those kind of videos?
Yeah, that was actually one of my first TikToks that I made was like that
Nice.
really popular one, but I've done a few since. I've been doing them to have a good time. I don't expect anything from it, but it's like it's a cool way to practice. And it's also you never know whose page you might show up on. So but yeah, I made them like pretty early on in my voice acting journey, so I feel like I should redo them now that I've had more coaching because I'm just like, they're not bad, but I would have done this, this, and this, like
Hmm.
critiquing myself.
That would actually be a great idea, is a scene, like you just said, kind of comparing yourself or even duetting your old thing and critiquing yourself on like some of the various things. I think that would be, at least for myself, I would find that very interesting. So we're kind of getting closer to the end of the podcast, but I wanted to kind of ask a couple of quick questions. So the first thing is, obviously you've been doing this for a year and 8 months, as you talked about. I'm going to give you the question that I think every teacher ever asked you, every professor in college ever asked you. In 5 years, 5 to 10 years, however you want to put it, where do you hope to see yourself? Where are you envisioning for yourself in your career?
So I really, really want to go to conventions. I want to have my own booth and be signing stuff for people because I'm such an extrovert and I love, love, love interacting with people. And so being able to have people who are fans of me come up to me, it would just be so wholesome. And then just being in like to get to those convention points, being in AAA video games, that's honestly my number one goal, especially like JRPGs. I love them. And the voice acting is always so good. I was like, I want to be part of that. So just being in AAA games, being in anime, I really want to be in a lot of anime because I think it's a really good skill to have, first of all. And second of all, it's just so fun. Every time I've practiced, it's been really amazing. And so I definitely want to be focusing on character stuff like I feel like most voice actors always have to do like commercial stuff too because it's higher paying.
Oh, of
So
course.
um I want to be in national commercials too. I think that would be just so cool to just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm the voice of that brand." Like how cool would that be? So that's another one of my goals. I want to be in stuff, like in stuff, like big stuff. So that's where I see myself in 5 to 10 years, hopefully.
Yes, yes, very obviously, hopefully, and obviously, we hope, or I hope, I should say, that this podcast can help with bringing that to you, bringing you out there. So for my last question, I'm kind of going to like leave the floor to you just for a little bit, and it's more so, for you to kind of talk about yourself, like in what you can bring to the table. But if there was, for instance, somebody who was a casting agency or whatever that was listening to this podcast, what would you say to have them at least give you a look and give you a shout out for your work?
So this is gonna sound kind of lame. That's not starting on a good note. But
I
however,
was like, you're already selling yourself short. Come on, Melissa, you got this.
listen, I'm funny. I have witty jokes. I'm really fun to work with. I think that anyone who works with me can vouch for that. I'm always cracking jokes and obviously being serious when we need to be. But it's like I keep it a very fun, light environment. I take direction really, really well. I've been told that ever since I started, like from the beginning. I hear something and I'm like, all right, I know exactly what I need to do, and then I do it. So it's very, very fast with me to get what you want. Um, I have a wide range of voices. I mean, you can hear that in my character demo. I can go from high pitched nerdy girl to bratty little boy. So it's like there's a vast range that I have, and I'm also just super easy to work with. Like I get what you need on time. If you need me to send files, within 24 hours at the latest. I always send stuff over as quickly as I can, like upon receipt of the work if we're not doing a live session. And it's just I don't know. I think like I'm a nice person too. Like I'm not one of those divas. Like I've run into some of them where it's like, okay, you think they're like secondhand directing, right? And it's like, no, I'm not. Like if I have an idea, I'll bring it up. Sometimes I have really cool ideas, but I'm not gonna be like, no, I disagree with your direction, and we should do it my way. Like no, never. So yeah, I think I'm very fun to work with, and I think anyone would enjoy working with me. If you're listening to this, I hope that was a stronger finish than my start.
It was a strong finish, and let me just vouch for it. Obviously, I've had a blast here on the podcast. There's so much more things I would want to talk to you and ask about, so maybe at some point in the future, we'll be bringing you back to catch up with you and, of course, get some more things going on. But we're at the part of the show where I always say to people, I don't know what you might be playing here in this week, but if you want to spend your hard-earned cash on an upcoming video game, I'm going to tell you about what's coming up this week. And it starts with Friday, September 16th, Hidden Through Time Definitive Edition for PS4 and Switch. On Monday, September 19th, Return to Monkey Island for Switch and PC, and that is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Tuesday, September 20th, is Construction Simulator PS5 for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Hard Space Shipbreaker for PS5 and Xbox Series. Jack Move for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Solstice for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. And to pass along, there is a demo currently available on Steam, but at the time of this airing, I don't know if the demo will still be available. So if it is, quickly play it, because usually they take it down when the game releases. On Thursday, September 22nd, you have No Place for Bravery on Switch and PC, Serial Cleaners for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, Session Skate Sim for PS5, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, The Dealfield Chronicle for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, Potion Permit for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and just Switch, Slime Rancher 2 for Xbox Series and PC, Train Life, a Railway Simulator for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and then Friday, September 23rd, you have DreamWorks Dragons, Legends of the Nine Realms for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. So, Melissa, any of those catching your attention?
The one about the dragons.
The dragons.
It sounded very majestic. I don't know. That you read them so fast, though, I couldn't keep up. I was just like, oh my gosh. There's a lot going on here.
Trust me. Normally I read them faster because like the list is a lot longer, and I try to be very clear with the voice, like the titles, but when you're trying to read off the title as well as every console it comes out for, sometimes it can be very long. So usually I just hope people like, of course, like, you know, all right, rewind, let's just hear what games are coming out. But for myself, the Dealfield Chronicle. Dealfield Chronicle is the upcoming strategy RPG. I guess it's strategy real-time RPG coming from Square Enix, also being developed by Landcars. And I talked about it recently on the podcast. I wrote an article over on pressstartnews.net for you to check out if you want to. It is a fantastic game. The demo does a great job in showcasing what the game offers. And I think for you, Melissa, you might really enjoy the voice acting of it, because I think that they did a great job with the characters, both in the English dub as well as, of course, the Japanese voice acting. But that's kind of the biggest one, I would say, over this week. The following week is when a number of other ones, including Valkyrie Elysium, comes out, and I'm looking forward to that one. So, but that is all that we have here for the podcast. Melissa, before we send everyone off into the weekend, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Something you said earlier, I'm going to try to make this quick. Something you said earlier about living in Wisconsin, and so it'd be hard for you. I just want to, objection. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that game. But no, I'm sorry. Okay, so I just want to say that you can be a voice actor from literally anywhere in the world, because there's so much remote work out there from your own home studio. So if you go in your closet, like, clothes are great sound treatment as it is. So it's like, if you're just in there and you have a microphone, just start out with something small, cheap USB mic. That's totally fine. Just to like get started, you can totally do it. And I just wanted to leave that word of encouragement, because I think it's such a common thought that you have to be in like LA, New York, or Texas. And you can do it from anywhere. So if you want to do this, do it. I believe in you. Let me know if you have questions, because I love helping people out. So like, if you go to my social media and DM me, I got you.
You're telling me someone who worked in nonprofits, like in psychology, likes helping people? Come on.
I know, it seems sus, seems very fake.
Very fake. Uh-oh, we might have to kick somebody off of the airship here.
All right, just don't air this episode because I'm canceled now. So.
Oh no! All right. Well, everybody, no, I agree with what Melissa said. I was more making mention, of course, of just here where I live, being able to go to a casting studio. But I agree with what Melissa said, and don't let me discourage you. Let Melissa be the one who brings you up and encourages you to go do your things, because that's what we're here to do on the One More Game podcast. But for the last time on this episode, I've been one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, aka Darcy. This has been Melissa White, and Melissa, again, thank you so much for being here. And so, everyone, as always, stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep on gaming. We'll see you guys on the next episode.